Hi guys, so welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I actually want to do books that by Black authors that I have not read. I'm like ashamed that I haven't read them because they are well-known books. They are, you would kind of consider them, some staples. When you think of Black literature, these are some of them. And I have not read them. So yeah, let's just get started. So the first book, which, Lord, I'm so embarrassed. Um, the autobiography of Malcolm X. Haven't read it. I read his daughter's coming of age memoir and loved it. I've seen the movie, but I've never read it. One reason probably why is I'm not really a big fan of nonfiction. It can kind of be a bore to me, but I'm like, I have to get over that because I've read some nonfiction books and really liked it. For example, like I said, I loved his daughter's book, Growing Up X by Ilyasah Shabazz. And that's clearly a nonfiction, but I just have to, again, get over that and just sit down and read a nonfiction. And yeah, I have to read Malcolm X. I mean, come on now, it's Malcolm X. Next is Becoming by Michelle Obama. Now, I remember when this came out, it came out in November, and the day that it came out, I remember I got it because I wanted a physical copy because this cover is so pretty. And then Michelle Obama is just everything. I remember I went home, I attempted to read it, and this is when I kind of was just getting back into reading. I wasn't just a serious reader. And I read about 50 pages, like, yeah, I can't. And I stopped reading it. And I wasn't gonna get the audiobook, but I'm like, since I have the physical copy, I'll just stick to this. Again, it's the same thing where it's nonfiction, so that's just not my thing, but I'm gonna read this. I have to read it. Next is another one where I am just ashamed. Roots by Alex Haley. Yes, I know. So, when I first started getting back into reading, when I first started getting back into reading, I was reading smaller books because books like this just intimidated me. This book is over 600 pages. Now it doesn't, but back then it did. So what I tried to do is, as you can see, I have tabs here. I was going to be like, well, every day I'll read 50 pages. Tried to do that. It didn't work. Then I got the audiobook. Still have it. And the beginning was such a bore. It was, oh my goodness. But I kept on telling myself, okay, it has to be like that because he is setting up, obviously the story, but also setting up the family tree. And then I also have to think about, I remember when I watched the miniseries, the beginning was always boring to me anyway, like on the middle passage, and then after he got off, the middle passage and it started picking up. So I'm like, I just have to, just muster through it because Queen, which Alex Haley wrote, that was also my problem in the beginning. It was such a bore, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I didn't have an option to get an audio because it's not an audio. So I'm going to have the audio in my ears, obviously, and I'm going to read along with it. And I'm just going to have to just, like I said, muster through because I have to read this book. I mean, come on now. I have to read Roots. Next is Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Now, I think I am going to like this book because he gives me the same vibes as like Richard Wright or Ernest J. Gaines, meaning that they focus on, their main protagonist is a black boy, a black man that is, have done and just been like injustice in the world has been against them. And, it talks about just how America just treats black men in general. And I know it can be really, hard to read, but it's also, like I always say, it's really necessary. So he kind of gives me that vibe when I was reading the synopsis. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is something I think I, will like. So I do want to give this a try relatively sooner than later. Because, yeah, I want to read it, and I kind of also want to get it over with since I know it's going to be hard. And lastly is The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. Now I have her book, her other book that came out, Caste. I don't know why I get her books and then don't read them. But for this one, I do want to obviously read it. And again, it was always the length that intimidated me, and then the nonfiction. You guys know a lot of these are nonfiction. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to, like I keep on saying, just get over that and read it. Because I am a fiction type of person. But I think maybe once I give nonfiction a try and, read a couple of books, that I can kind of get my juices flowing, and then it'll kind of be like second nature. Like, oh, if I see a nonfiction, I can just pick it up. Because again, when I do see a nonfiction, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't want to read that. I don't know why, but that's just how I am. But I do want to read this because, watching reviews on it, and also to watching her reviews on her latest book, Caste. And it was just so informative, especially about Black history, Black culture, Black ideologies. And that's something that's really up my alley. I'm always wanting to learn, about our experiences, about everything that we have, gone through. So this is, I need to read this for this purpose, and just to be informed, in general. So yeah, guys, that's all I have. Like I said before, I am slightly embarrassed, but I'll read these eventually. They're gonna get read. So yeah. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you, and I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.